And action. Mary had a question about how to accomplish 30 hikes over the course of 2017 summer. And I liked that question because, and I had to come home, over to the office to film this minute clinic because that's how I got started, except I was on my own. The fact that you have a partner that's going in with you is a good thing. The fact that you have a goal by end of the summer, a good thing. That's how I usually set up my hiking excursions. I usually will go take some patients out to a hiking excursion every year. You can follow me on DrRic Hiking Excursions on Facebook, and I'll announce the excursion this fall 2017 very soon. But usually the anticipation of a summit of some sort will get people exercising till the summit. It's kind of like training for a marathon. You invest in a marathon and you have to train for it because you can't just walk a marathon, you'll be in pain. In fact, that's how I started my walking or hiking techniques, is because the last marathon I did, 2010, I hit the wall at about 13 miles and I had to walk the last 13. I could have turned in my chip, but I was right behind this guy with a prosthetic leg and he was in pain. And I thought, you know what? He's in pain. He will never get a leg back, and he can do this, I can do this. So I kind of just marched through, and from that point on, I thought 13 miles, piece of cake, and I went on to Yosemite and Glacier and a couple other places anyway. This is the way I would do it. I would set a goal. So if your ultimate goal, for Illinois at least, is say some big summit at the end of the summer, I would pick Devil's Lake in Wisconsin. It's got some nice bluffs. The east and west bluff are really cool. The southern outlook over Devil's Doorway is also great to look for. And it's camping, and there's the Wisconsin Dells close by where you can get nominal places to stay. So, and it's within 3 hours, 2.5 hours of where my office is. So I think that's a summit. It's a well rewarded summit to end the summer attempts. I would do that. That's about a 9 to 10 mile hike depending on what you want. And that also will give you a schedule of how to build up from the beginning to your summit of your big hike. It all depends, and so it's a loaded question. That's why I wanted to film this. It's a loaded question because it all depends on your level of skill. If you have any disabilities, knee pain, back pain, a problem with a foot, you're going to have to stay with something local and something short. Know your disabilities. If you do have them, be careful. You might want to ask for a prehabilitation visit to a physical therapist to look at your gait and see how you do with a 8-pound backpack. Why do I say 8 pounds? Because wherever you go in Illinois, wherever you go with hiking, you should always carry water. And water, a gallon of water is equal to about 8.5 pounds. So if you're going to spend a couple hours in the sun, especially summertime, and maybe you're on a blood pressure medicine or a water pill, you should have extra water. So you should be able to carry at least 8 pounds at the least. And that's in a backpack. That's the easiest way to do it versus those bottles that you hold in your hand. I'd rather have you hold a walking stick. Check out my video on DrRic tutorial walking sticks I did a long time ago on how to use these things. You think it's easy, but there's ways to choose this thing and to utilize it so you can get more mileage out of your hike. So you don't need a bear belt. This is just mine from when I go into bear country. It tells the bears when I'm coming by. Not that it'll do anything, but I don't want to scare any big animals. So anyway, there are ways to choose your trails for Illinois. If you go to the Forest Preserve, there's Cook County, there's DuPage, there's McHenry County Forest Preserve web page, and most of the web pages will tell you, if you put a forest preserve in, a name of a forest preserve, they'll tell you what kind of trails they have. Paved trails, pebble trails, usually it's pea gravel or some form of fine pebble, or they just have grass, mowed, groomed. So those are the ones you want to be wary of. If you don't have a lot of variety of shoes, or the weather's bad, you want paved because it'll give you, it won't get your shoes so dirty. If you have street shoes, you can usually use paved, and it's easy to, you can get some pretty decent speed on paved. If you're on pebble or groomed trail, You're going to need some good support because there are divots, and if you have bad ankles or bad knees, you're going to be hitting divots every once in a while. If you go off trail, which I shouldn't tell you to do, but in Chicago, especially in the wintertime, it's kind of cool. You can kind of adventure into seeing different parts that you never saw before off trail. Watch for ticks, but you definitely need support. You definitely need clothes for that. You definitely need maybe a GPS, either a watch or some kind of GPS device, because your phone might not get a telephone range or a tower close by. And if you're relying on your phone for GPS, you might lose it and then you're going to be lost. Not that you'll go too deep in any of the Illinois forest preserves, but if you go into a state park, it can be a challenge. So always have a map printed up. If you look at a book by Ted Villare, 60 Hikes Within 60 Miles, he has nice suggestions and some nice summaries on different trails, mostly forest preserves in Illinois. And a little map as well, and some little hints of what he found during his attempt at that trail. So you can usually do an up and back where you park your car at a forest preserve, head down depending on where you're choosing, and then head back. Or you can do a loop. The loops are somewhat of a challenge because if you decide to conk out middle of the loop, you still have the entire loop to finish up. If you do it up and back, you can always turn around and just head back, not worry about getting lost. And again, if it's well paved or groomed, it's easier to see where you're going. Most trails have a designated direction. In Starved Rock, which would be my second to last summit if I were you, Starved Rock offers many different trails. They always have to the lodge signs or away from the lodge signs. So it kind of tells you which way you should be going. And again, you should always try to read the maps before you go, or have them with you, or go with a guide like me. Starved Rock is great. There's a lot of elevation changes. There's beautiful forests, well groomed, paved, and have waterfalls to hit your summit, especially a day or two after a rain. If you can go 2 to 3 days after a rain, it won't be so muddy on the trail. Most of their trails are well maintained, and you'll be able to see the waterfall. If you go peak of summer, it's going to be dry. At least you'll see the canyon, but no water. This third to last summit, so we have Devil's Lake is your peak. Starved Rock. Mathiasen is also nice. It's down the street from Starved Rock. That's more of a loop. Not too many trails, just one. Really nice canyon to go through, picturesque, with a little bit of a cave that you can tunnel through. And then there's the other ones around here. As far as locals that are cool, I would sometimes save the chunk of the beginning trails. If you want variety, Swallow Cliff Staircase is nice. There's a trail system there. You can go off or on. They have groomed trails, or you can venture off onto following the off-trail, well-worn mud or sand. And it's really easy. You can't get lost there. There's also Morton Arboretum, well-groomed, a lot of chip trails. Again, well-groomed. You have to pay an entrance fee for Morton Arboretum, and then you have the local forest preserves. Bussey Woods is a nice paved trail. There's a lot of bikes. You have to be careful, but it also is a 10-mile loop. You can always just follow the loop, but once you hit anything past 3 or 4 miles, you're committed to either go the entire loop, whether your legs are ready for it or not, or go back. So you just have to know your level of training and fit. If you're not fit, it's better to start with short trails. Most of the short trails at the forest preserves local to you, if you just look at Forest Preserve or the DuPage or Cook County Forest Preserve webpage, most of them are about 3 miles. Very easy. So if you travel average speed about 2 to 2.5 miles an hour, you'll be done in an hour and a half. It's very pleasant. The one caveat I have, men I don't have a problem with. If you have communication, you have map, you have water, you'd probably be okay to travel. Women, I would be apprehensive on, and I just realized this, I always tell everybody, get out to nature, but I just realized that when women are, not all women, but sometimes when you're alone, you might pose as a target. So you have to always tell people where you're going. You should always have communication. I think protection is important. I hate to say it because it brings up this air of watch out, but it's important. Mostly for animals too. So you have animal, then you have bad guys around. I don't think you have to worry about that too much, but protection in the form of mace, protection in the form of firearm, knife, it's totally up to you, but sometimes the best protection is just going with a partner or a friend. I am trying to work with the DuPage County Forest Preserve to have volunteers offer a once or twice a month group hike, but you know, people have to volunteer for that, and I'm still organizing it. I think it would be nice if you're single and if you're apprehensive to join the group. The question is, how do we offer that in all the forest preserves around us? Haven't worked that bugs out, but I'm trying to work with the forest preserve. So if you are apprehensive, then you come to one of my outings. Usually once a month I'll have a place that we all meet, designated time, and you have to be there at the designated time. If you're not, we have to take off. The group cannot, number one, the group can't wait for stragglers. And number two, I can't be hiking all day either, and if we wait half an hour, that's half hour more of a 3-hour hike possibly. So check out www.herbal411 local events, and I usually will post it there as far as where the group hike for the month will be. So those, and also layering is important. So knowing weatherchannel.com, knowing the weather forecast for the weekend is important. If it's excessively hot, you want protection, you want sun, you want water for sure, lip balm, sunblock, shade, because some of the forest preserves do not have shade. If it's a little bit cold, you might want a windbreaker to keep you from getting too chilly, especially if we have an early morning hike. If it's post rainfall, the mosquitoes will be high, so you want a net, you want some kind of repellent. I like natural repellent. If you're going off trail, you want some form of protection against ticks and thorns and other pests, mites too. So you should know your weather, you should know how to read the channels or at least see what the forecast is, and I think that's why again, packing a backpack, you can pack away small compression windbreakers, second layers or mid layers that'll keep you warm, and then you're depending on what you want to wear underneath as base layers. So it's always nice to have a couple options. Having a snack, very good. Sharing a snack, that's nice too. But after the hike, it's always nice to have some kind of energy fuel to refuel yourselves. I think protein is good. Depending on your medical condition, you might want to have just carbohydrates, something fruit or vegetable around. I usually have meals ready to eat. Check out my video, DrRic Tutorial Meals Ready to Eat, or MRE, and you'll see what I usually bring. And hopefully that's it in a nutshell. You just have to, I know it might sound easy, I'm going to go hike. But I think if you're going to do this properly and maybe add it to your layers, because you can hike in Illinois in the wintertime. I always go out in the snow. It's something that I think if you get used to it, you don't get shut down by any inclement weather. I even hike in rain, although it's a little bit of a pain in the butt and I can't film anything. There's always some way to take advantage of going outdoors. Just have to plan it properly, plan ahead, know what your beginning is, know what your level of training is, know what your equipment level is, and plan for a summit of some sort, and hopefully a group that you can keep yourself inspired with. So, Mary, good question. Hopefully you get out there. I'll see you on trail. Otherwise.